Welcome, my amazing viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you are joining from. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you so much and remain blessed.
Because even as of today, the lives of our members are purely threatened. Do you even know that some of these companies, Shell, Total, and so on, they shut down production because pumping into the pipeline, at the end of the day, you realize nothing. So they shut down production. Some of these miscreants, some of the militants, some of the criminals, they will call our members in the control room. They will be threatening them to resume production because their business is being threatened. It's as bad as that. So it has even led to threat of lives of our members. So we, as a responsible association, we cannot allow this to continue.
You said you want to pressure government. Does it then mean that you perceive that the government is not doing enough to stop this oil theft?
Yeah, yes, they are not doing enough actually. The first problem we have is that there is a total collusion and total connivance. That connivance from the military, the naval officers, the army officers that you send there, we have evidence that they collude with the people that perpetrate this act.
What form of evidence?
I mean, photo evidence. And also, some of the people that are engaged, you know, our members are everywhere. Now, you pay soldiers, you pay naval officers to protect this pipeline. They are paid some extra allowances. The oil and gas companies, they pay them on a daily basis some extra allowance to protect these pipelines. And those same locations that you send army, you send naval officers to protect, then few days later, you will now see the illegal tappings. Then how can you best describe that? So for us, we have seen that there is a total collusion across board. And this is not even limited to people from the host community. We've had also evidence, and the police and the military, they also alluded to it, that Nigerians all over, they are all engaged in this. And they even have international collaborators. You cannot move a badge. A badge is big. A badge is not something that is that tiny. And you see the sophistication of these operations. Each of these pipelines, you have hundreds of bars and PSIs of pressure inside this pipeline. So if a novice just go there to open the pipeline, the person will die. Even a 30, 40 PSI could kill. Talk less of about 800, 900 PSI. So the person will die. So for you to be able to do this, it's some level of sophistication. They come with blowout preventers. They come with all manner of equipment to be able to do this safely. And they do this, they pump some of this into the badge. And that badge will depart those locations abroad. So what is happening to our waterways guard? What is happening to our naval officers? What is happening? It is not because there is no intelligence. The intelligence are bound. But it's majorly because the will is not there and also some level of compromise.
You think the same government will reinvent the will to deal with this?
They just have to. They just have to. You don't even need to reinvent the wheel as well, because the solutions are bound. In Mexico, we've had this kind of issue some time ago in Mexico. What did they do? They applied technology. And that application of technology, today we live in the world of artificial intelligence. We live in the world of nanotechnology. We live in virtually the fourth industrial revolution, whereby there are researches all over the world that we could tap into. You could be able to get some drones, for example, that some intelligent drones, you have multiple of them that will be flying across these pipelines and doing monitoring. You have a control room that the drones will be relaying reports to the control room. Anywhere you sense drop in pressure, you know the latitude and the longitude. That gives you the particular location that this is happening.
This is this commonsensical thing to do, to apply technology. And it appears we have not done that.
We have not done that. And that is really where we are. I mean, we have not applied technology. Even the physical means we are trying to use, there is no deterrence. There is no consequence management. Because if you look at it, you realize that, okay, you send an army, a naval officer to man a specific section of a pipeline, and that section is compromised. What have you done to the people you send there? Have you court-martialed them? Have you brought them in? Have you sent them to criminal court and get them convicted? But the best they always do is that they will remove those ones, send them to other areas. They will not bring new ones. Then business as usual continues. Maybe once in 3, 4, 5, 6 months, they will now bring some vessels that they have called this, and television limelight and big statements are made. But the business continue on a daily basis. Not to even talk of the environmental degradation that is happening. If you go to the streets of Port Harcourt today, you have covered that severally. The black suit is killing people, and it's something that we must take drastic action.
Okay, you appear quite passionate about this.
Absolutely.
We'll go on a break to enable you catch your breath and maybe take a glass of water. There's so much we'll get out from you after the break. Do stay with us.
Thank you so much.
Crude oil theft has over time been one of the bane of Nigeria's development, despite huge resources deployed to address the problem. The high-level oil theft has seen Nigeria not being able to meet her Organization of Petroleum Producing Countries, OPEC, quota. The recent arrest of a supertanker vessel laden with about 3 million barrels of stolen crude from Nigeria has again thrown up questions as to who are those behind the multi-billion-dollar illegal business.
Crude oil is not chewing gum or treble that you can just go to any market and sell. And the poor people in the local Niger Delta communities do not know even the market where crude oil in barges or shipload are sold. The big thieves there are the security personnel, in fact the retired generals and serving generals. Then you have the big men in NNPC, those that are there. There are some men at the presidency. And then the operators of the industry, because that thing is pumped. And they have surveillance, monitor in their offices. They know when oil is diverted.
Oil theft is not a business for small boys because it has to do with, first, identifying the people who help to do the lifting, the vessel and the owners of the vessel who will help to lift the oil from one location to the other.
A professor of economics and the vice chancellor of Ignatius Ajuri University of Education, Okechukwu Onuchukwu, like many Nigerians, is worried that if no serious measures were put in place to checkmate oil theft, Nigeria's economy will suffer more.
If you look at the economic indices, they have gone haywire. Look at the rate of inflation in Nigeria is double digits, over 17%. Look at unemployment rate in the country is about 33%. Look at exchange rate. This morning somebody told me that dollar is selling for over 690 naira, per dollar. Pounds, it's nothing. We can't talk about that because it's over 800 naira. If there is a shock, like a fall in the price of oil, we find out that we'll run into a recession.
If about 40 to 45% of oil is being taken by way of theft, it means the government cannot be able to do what it is supposed to do. Hence, some sectors of the economy, like what you have the university suffering now, where lecturers cannot be paid.
For a nation that solely depends on oil revenues to be losing billions of dollars on a daily basis due to the activities of oil thieves, the authorities must be sincere and muster the political will to unmask those milking the nation's economy.
There are stakeholders and saboteurs that are sabotaging this economy, that are in this government. That is why we are talking about expressing and demonstrating commitment. Mobic must be committed to solving it. If the government keep and pay lip service to it because they have some sacred cow, then we'll remain in this mess.
There are Nigerians who are there, both the ones working in an NPC, the ones outside, very well, wealthy Nigerians that are involved in these businesses. So until government begin to go deep to, investigate further.
The Niger Delta region, which is the goose that lays the golden eggs, has suffered many years of neglect and large-scale environmental degradation.
They are already divested. They are already living. They've stolen enough from onshore. They are not going offshore where human beings, I will not see them anymore. And unfortunately, the whole environment of Niger Delta have been devastated and polluted.
Some questions still begging for answers, however, include: who are those capable of hiring vessels to load the nation's crude offshore? Who are those leaking information on the time crude was being pumped? Who are those revealing the wellheads to the oil thieves? And who are those providing security for the economic thieves? These are the very many questions still begging for answers.
And once you provide the answers to those 3 questions, I will believe strongly that the issue of crude oil theft in Nigeria will be curbed entirely, if not drastically reduced. Everybody knows the answer to these questions, but we don't appear to be ready to, of course, for now, provide the answers and taking actions on those answers provided. Festus Osifo, Pengasyn president, has been with me. I'm talking about those that understand the industry. Pengasyn are part of it.
Yeah,
if it's well done, Pengasyn part of it. If it's not well done, then Pengasyn staff members may also have to answer some questions. You operate the oil industry, as it were. So you understand the terrain.
Correct.
And some will say Pengasyn members may also be part of this bazaar.
You know, I don't think, during your interlude, I heard when someone was saying that the IOCs may also be part of this. You know, a lot of people that have not worked in that industry, they will not really understand the complexities and how the industry operates. If you, let's assume this is a terminal where, or this is a plant where you carry out your operations. After you carry out those operations, all you need to do as a terminal operator is to pump it into the pipeline. At times, this pipeline may not even belong to you. For example, Total E&P operates the OML 58 field. So the staff of Total E&P operating that OML 58 field, they produce both gas and crude oil. So when they produce the gas is sent into the gas export line to Bonny. So they cannot tamper with that line.
Are we experiencing gas?
No, they can't do that because gas is volatile.
Yes. So they leave the gas.
It's dead.
They concentrate on crude
oil.
Okay.
So gas is being pumped, and we don't have much challenge with that. But at the same time, crude oil, a terminal operator sends it into the pipeline. So it is not the function. Once you go into the pipeline, it is no longer your facility. All you need
who operates the pipeline?
Yeah, the pipeline are operated. I mean, most of the pipeline were built and operated by Shell. But when you talk about that pipeline, this pipeline passes through remote locations and remote areas, and they are buried beneath the soil. So it's not that somebody goes on a daily basis to be operating and touching. No, you send from your end, your production end, into the pipeline. So you are now expecting that product to be delivered at the terminal. So that at the terminal, you will not compare the quantity you pumped in from your end and what they received at the terminal. There are monitors and gauges to confirm this.
Is it only Shell that operates and manages these pipelines?
No. Most of the pipelines, you know, Shell started operations long ago, much more
before that company.
So most of the pipelines, like the Trans-Niger pipeline, for example, so most of these pipelines were owned and built by Shell. Other operators also have, but Shell has the highest the majority of them. But the point I'm trying to make is this. This pipeline were buried subsoil. So when they built it, the intention was not that you go and monitor the pipeline. A pipeline, for example, that is 20 kilometers. What can you use in monitoring? So it was buried subsoil. But over the years, people now trace the roots of that pipeline, and they are now able to do the sabotage. But let me tell you something, to also counter some of the things they said that wasn't really correct. Most of the operators today, they have shut in production. So if the operators were part of the conspirators, they will still be producing, right? So that at the end of the day, the product will be diverted.
And that's why the members are being threatened to resume flow.
Exactly. So now, if you look at ADAX, for example, in is it OML 124 thereabout, they've shut down production completely. So in most of these fields, productions are being shut down. So when you shut down, no operator will want to shut down his production. Not even now that the price of crude oil has gone, has skyrocketed. So really, we know who are doing the collusion, but we don't think that the operators or those that are working in the plants are part of it. Because when the operators don't make money at the end of the day, it is going to affect them, number one. Then number two, most importantly, they will not be able to meet up obligations to staff and meet up staff welfare. Today, our members are doing collective bargaining, but they are not able to do agreement. Today, we know the rate of inflation and we know the difficulty that we are facing as a country. But our members, at the end of the day, most of them go home without salaries being paid. because the operators will tell them that, you know, we have shut down this production facility for the past 2-3 months and no income is coming in, no money is coming in, such you cannot be paid. So that is the real challenge that we are facing. So an operator who wants to export and earn money cannot shut its operation because there is pipeline vandalization, and we say the same operator is also colluding.
What we are hearing is that once the crude oil is pumped to the jetties at the export terminal, that accounting has also been part of this debt, that theft, as it were. That those operating the jetties and the loading to barges and vessels, that the accounting process also contributes.
I know, Dr. Amechi, you know, I've listened to a lot of commentaries in these areas. A lot of people don't really understand how this thing operates. The problem and the real challenge we are facing today is in the land operations. Because in land operations, you are pumping into pipeline to the terminals. Then maybe some swamp operations as well. But in offshores and deep offshores, we don't have this challenge. Because in offshore,
inside the high seas,
exactly,
like the Bonga,
exactly, like yes, like Bonga operated by Shell, like ERA operated by MPN, like Akpo and Egina operated by Total E&P, or Agbami operated by Chevron. So you don't have this kind of problem, because when you produce, you store in, that's why it's called FPSO, floating production, storage, and offloading system. So when you produce, you put into these tanks. So you now have the tankers that will come periodically to do the loading. But let me explain something. People always say that when those tankers comes, that they under-declare. It's not true. I have had the opportunity to work in a terminal. You have a controlling unit. That controlling unit is well secured. You have the operator, the operators, you have DPRO, you have NAPIMS, you have customs, you have a lot of other stakeholders that the last number of exports is taken. That control unit is locked, both physical barrier and electronic barrier. When next they want to do offloading, all the parties will come. They will check the current number and the previous number, they reconcile first. Then secondly, there's also a physical barrier in the export line. Before you open that export line, you normally have about 3 different padlocks. One belonging to NAPIMS, one belonging to DPRO, the other belonging to the operator. Then once you now pump into the tankers, you will now send cargo surveyors. Cargo surveyors are professionals that will now go there to physically ascertain what the quantity that was pumped was. They will now reconcile that quantity with what you have in your metric system. So in most cases, that is not the challenge. That is why today, the reason we are still able to produce up to 1 million plus barrels of crude oil per day is because majority of these are coming from the deep offshores and the shallow waters. But the one we cannot account for is the ones that are coming from the land operations as well as the swamp. The one you pump into the pipeline. That is the real challenge.
And that is where we have to place. And that is where we can't police. As a nation with all the security agencies and all that, the Chief of Naval Staff also made reference to the fact that there are vessels that are not accompanied, loaded with crude oil, but are not accompanied with documentation. But when they are accosted and arrested, you see the document fly out from somewhere to authenticate their cargo.
We are enjoining the Chief of Naval Staff to stop making big statements, but to put systems in place to get his people to account for what is happening in Niger Delta. You know, we always, in Nigeria, we make big statements. Those in authorities who are supposed to act, once a while, they come out and make big statements.
Is it not in a position to know the man sitting at the top of Nigeria's Navy that has operation across all the creeks and swamps and our international maritime waters?
Yes.
Is it not in a position to know?
Is his responsibility to stop this? So what we are saying is that it's not big statement. Get your hands dirty. Stop the vandalization. Those
or stop the export.
Those vessels.
That's what he said.
That
when his men arrest them, they check and discover that they are not well documented, and the documents flies out from somewhere.
Expose them. We are ready to partner with them. Expose them. just as you said, we have our members everywhere. We have our members in export terminals. All the members of DPRO, for example, majority of them that are across the various export terminals, they are all Penkasa members. So we can assist. So whenever such thing happens, we are ready to collaborate. Before he releases such vessel, he should blow the whistle. It's not after you have released them 3-6 months ago, then you are now coming and making complaints. These are excuses. So what we are saying is that if the naval chief and his people are doing what is right, this problem should have been solved. So what we should stop making big statements, but we should get our hands to work. We are ready to partner with them. If you catch such vessels, we are ready to provide all the necessary information to know if the crude oil that they are taking out are the ones that are declared, or if the crude oil
the one that was tracked to Equatorial Guinea waters is facing a prosecution. Maybe that should provide a format, as it were, on how we should arrest and prosecute.
Absolutely. This is what we say, or this is what we are saying. You don't allow 30 go, and you will not pick one. No. And that one, you now showcase, come to television, showcase, and do a lot of paparazzi. So that is actually what we don't want. Yes, it's a right way, it's a good way to start, but what we are saying is that don't allow anyone to go. Police the waterways 100%. Develop the capacity and much more the will. The capacity may be there, but the will as of today, we are not seeing it. So don't allow 30 go and you will not catch one and you no, it is not enough.
Welcome, my amazing
at least
viewers.
prevent 99% from going.
I appreciate you.
That is all we are saying. All the chief of army staff, the chief of naval staff, the chief of defense staff, they need to get their act together in order to resolve these menace. If the will is there, they can actually achieve it.
Now, government, after stopping private security firms, indeed
go to the comment section.
Policing the pipelines have restored that contract. $4 billion to Polo's company and is raising eyebrows. Now, will it be the magic wand? If the security architecture, conventional security architecture, cannot deal with this problem, is it that the better option will be to give out more of these contracts to the private security?
Yes, we have said it before now. It was one of the solutions that we propounded. It was during our discussions with government, it was one of the issues we raised, that why don't you involve the host community in the policing of this pipeline? Why don't you involve the local chiefs in the policing of this pipeline? But as you are involving the local chiefs, there must also be checks and balances. You will not give us such contracts, you will go home and sleep thinking that all will be uhuru. Then it may become business as usual again. So we have advocated that you need to create an integrated security network whereby the military, comprising of the army, the police, and the naval officers, you sanguine with the community people. Because these community guys, they know where the pipeline passes through. Some of them passes through their farmland, some of them passes through their backyard, so they know. So they can be able to provide you with sufficient intelligence. So for us, we have advocated that part of the ways, or one of the ways to solve this problem is when there is that synergy between the security forces as well as the host community. So we don't have problem with that because we believe that when it is properly implemented, it has a long way of also bringing some level of sanity to this menace.
That's multi-stakeholder approach to
Absolutely.
it. But as a Nigerian, where you bring in private security contractors, what does this speak about our sovereignty, our respect as a nation? And before long, we may even have to recourse to international private security firms and contractors to help us police our society.
Dr. Amechi, today we have banditry all over. People are being killed on a daily basis. If all it will take for people to stop dying is for Nigerian government to get mercenaries to solve this problem, for people to stop dying, for us, we are in sync with that. Because we are looking at the end. The end is actually, the end result for us is actually what matters. Because if you don't have the capacity to solve a problem, what is wrong in having people to collaborate with you? If the Nigerian Armed Forces, if they have the capacity and the will to solve the problem, then it could have been good. But they have proven all over that they don't have that will and they don't have that capacity to resolve these challenges that we are facing in Nigeria. So if what will solve it is collaboration both with international private security firms and local private security firms, it is quite good. Dr. Amici, if you take your calculator and you calculate the barrels of crude oil that we lose on a daily basis, or those that are shot in, or those, that 400 is part of the one they've shot in.
Okay.
So now, if you take your calculator and you calculate it, you multiply by the prevailing oil price today, multiply by Naira, you are going to have error. You have error in your calculator.
You need a scientific.
You need, even a scientific calculator, you are going to have error. Or you have raised to power at the end of the day. Because it is a huge amount of money. So as a nation, we are bleeding. We don't have any use or any need today going all over, scampering.
Why is this high number all of a sudden now? This does not start today. During Obasanjo, he tried to deal with crude oil theft, but the volume today is unimaginable. Why this huge quantity now?
You are very correct. You know that most of these pipelines, these IOCs, they have been pumping into the pipeline over the years. They have been having like 10, 20, 30% maximum loss in the last 10, 15 years. So because it's 20, 10%, 30% loss, and their operations are still all going. They still break even.
Negligible.
Exactly. They still continue production. But what has happened now is that now they have over 90% loss. So now the people were emboldened over time. It's just like a criminal that comes to your house on a daily basis. Today, he steals something, he goes away. Next tomorrow, he steals something, and nobody challenges that person. The next day when he comes, he packs your entire property. So that is what we are facing today. And there is also a further incentive by the price of crude oil international market. So they felt that this is the best time for them to make a kill. Let them go at once, make the kill, and make a lot of revenue from it.
Absolutely. Let's see what you're telling us in terms of comments or questions from my guests on our Twitter feed. Of course, we have some of them that are being processed. As soon as we process them, we'll really share them out there. But let's, you talked about the will on the part of security agencies, but we have a president who's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Federal Republic. We have a president who's also the Minister of Petroleum. He should be on top of this.
Absolutely.
What new things, what new measures, what new action do you expect the president, the commander-in-chief, and the Minister of Petroleum to carry out with a view to dealing with this problem?
Number one, accountability. Number one, you need to develop some sets of KPIs, and you hand over those KPIs to the Chief of Defense Staff, who will in turn hand it over to the other army chiefs, and tell them, between now and the next 2 months, I want this problem reduced by 50%. Then between now and the end of the year, or virtually before the first quarter of next year, I want this problem eliminated. Then you watch. If there is no progression, at the end of the day, you take decisive action. We must learn how to use people to serve as deterrents. We must learn how to manage consequence. Any society that doesn't have an absolute consequence management, you are going to keep having this kind of problem. So the president must deploy his people, he must give them KPI, and he must give them targets. And if these targets are not met, he get them fired. Those army that you send there, those naval officers you send there, you get their names, you get all of them, 500, 1,000 of them. You investigate.
Their wealth,
if there are yes,
track,
of course. You track everything, of course. Because these people, they are living in affluence. These people, they have houses in Asokoro, in Maitama, in Lekki, and all the choice areas in Nigeria. That is the reality. Somebody that his salary is about 200,000 naira, and at the end of the day is buying land in choice areas, you should be able to investigate this. And once you found out this, you get these people terminated, and not just that, you have to prosecute them. When you are persecuting 2,000 officers because of this problem, if you now send additional numbers there, they will
choose between their job of being prosecuted or getting rich.
Or getting to jail.
Okay, the tweets are ready now. Let's share some of them right away. We have maybe 4 or 5 to start with. Okay, Mohammed OBA says, ask your guests to please clarify the quantity of oil productions between downstream and upstream, and how come the vandals succeed in vandalization of pipeline when we know that Tompolo is the one responsible for securing the pipeline's contract. Is it the only one, maybe part of those responsible? Bishop of Peace says, why is the Minister of Petroleum Resources never mentioned in all this theft invading the oil and gas sector? To the best of my understanding, we might know how in the oil and gas industry, our Minister of Petroleum, no, okay, we'll skip that, please. Okay, Emmanuel James says, we live in a country where corruption seems to fight corruption. This oil is stolen by high-profile individuals who derive joy to see the nation suffer due to cost of living.
Thank you so much for your patience to watch from the beginning to the end. I hope you have learned something from the video you have just watched. The video you have just watched is to bring information to your doorstep and for educational purpose. It is not to demonize anybody. Let us watch continuously and see who can be able to make a sense out of every nonsense we are seeing. We must continue. We move. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. They will kill us. We will kill them. At the end of the day, Biafra is here. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please kindly subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you. And remember, bless. Bye-bye. See you again.